friends. I am Lisa Littlebird. I am the founder and director of Wholehearted Chorus. We are a singing organization based in Central and Southern California, devoted to creating more harmony in the world by singing together. And I am doing something I've never done before today. I am being joined on this podcast by my very own fiancé. So, full disclaimer, we really like each other, and we cannot hold any truly objective bias about the value of each other's words. So we'll leave that to you. But I'm excited for this, and it feels worth it to kind of play the edge of the awkwardness of a formal witnessed conversation with a close beloved who I have conversation with every day for a number of reasons, because John has his own gifts and kind of dharma of his life that I feel really adds something to the conversation that we're having in this podcast. And I feel like our relational dynamic, being in more transparency and sharing our experience in that, could be useful and beneficial in this essentially relational conversation, because this podcast is about relationship, really. It's about how do we stay in relationship with people who are different than us. And while I don't think you and I, John, are too far away on the spectrum of diversity from each other, we have a lot of values alignment, which is why we're together. There are still lots of ways that we have to bridge. And because of the intimacy and the closeness of our relationship, one could argue that that type of relationship is actually the most confrontational, because there's no exit, right? That there's no way to step out of the conversation and just get away with judging the other person forever.
Right.
And so in our shared commitment to each other, talking about the ways that we move through the different obstacles of the heart, I feel like might be a helpful thing to share with the world.
Well, you are objectively awesome. So even if I didn't love you, I would still be listening to your podcast.
For those of you just listening, I'm shaking my head. But there's also one other dynamic that I think is also really cool. And that is that I've been a singer my whole life. I've grown up in a singing household. My mother's a professional singer. Music has been a source of joy and ease for me since birth. I've sung in zillions of choirs, and John has joined my choir for the very first time at age 54 this year, and it's been very confrontational for you. So that's one way that our experience is dramatically different in relationship with meeting the songs, and that can also be a source of conversation today. Want to start there?
Sure. I actively chose to participate in the chorus because it is really uncomfortable for me. And it's been an exercise in preemptively greeting my discomfort before practice, and things like I know that I'm going to have this feeling, this tightness in my chest come up when I mess the words up. And subconsciously, I want to avoid that feeling. So I didn't want to come to practice. I didn't think it all the way through, but the reason is because I don't want that feeling.
Uh-huh.
So if I can have a little conversation with my higher self and say, you want to grow, and that feeling is not that big a deal. It's just a temporary feeling. And you trust Lisa, and you trust all the teachers to know that you cannot grow if you are afraid of discomfort.
I think it's so interesting with you in particular, because you are not a shy person. In fact, it was kind of astonishing to me when we first got together, how much John puts himself out there in the world. He broadcasts online multiple times a day. He's very flamboyant style. And you sing on your daily broadcasts every single day, and you make up a song. So your inhibitions are perhaps unique in relationship to many other people who might come to the choir who love to sing, but are maybe just shy of doing it in front of people or something like that. So maybe share your specific experience.
Yeah, my fears are around doing it wrong. and being a problem for the group. When I was in Little League as a kid, my mantra was, please don't hit the ball to me. Please don't hit the ball to me. Please don't hit the ball to me. So if I am improvising a song every morning, it's fun and playful, and I can't do it wrong. It might not be
Nobody's counting on you.
Yeah. No, I mean, worst case, someone goes, didn't nail it today. I did wrestling in school because it's just me and another guy. There's no team that I let down. And, that's a deep trauma wound of feeling that if I disappoint, that love will be removed. And it's not my reality anymore, but that wound is deep. And so this process of this choir process has been a part of that healing. I mean, and I'm just so blessed that I'm also wrapped in a secure relationship with you. So after every practice, you tell me I was the best one. No, she doesn't.
That is not true.
Yeah, I love being on stage, and I love telling stories in the microphone, and but I've always done it myself. I didn't go to Hollywood to try to get approval from a director or a comedy writer crew. I published on the internet myself because I was always afraid of doing it wrong and disappointing and failing. So, I'm 54 and really stepping into some beginner mind growth in the areas of loving the self of me that's not exceptional, loving me as I am not the star pupil. There's a voice inside me that says nobody else is going to love you if you're not the star pupil.
Yeah, there's something about the choir that's deeply equalizing, and that's one of its values, is that as we come together, we get to feel how we're not special, but together we're creating something super special.
Yeah.
And each of us being a contributor to that is so empowering, and it hits like a different part of us. Are you starting to experience that at all, or are you still really conversation with your wound?
I'm about 2-3 weeks ago, I really kind of turned a corner. I mean, the choir it's the perfect place for me to have this classroom because, when 100 voices, I can't really mess it up. I might disrupt my partner right next to me, but not really, because I hear the people next to me miss it, and it doesn't bother me. So the momentum of good vibe, of momentum of harmony is so strong that I don't have the power to derail it.
Right.
And I love that feeling.
Yeah.
And so I really feel like I've relearned a whole new dimension of what harmony is. And being in a place of my voice joining this larger thing and feeling the resonance of this organism that is all of us. I mean, I get it now. I get why, my mom sings in the choir every Sunday at her church. And she likes the sermons, but it's the choir that is the medicine for her. And I get it now.
And Alexis and I were talking about how the songs are helpful because they keep our eye on the ball that's more important, right? Which is the message of the song. And then the song keeps going. So if you get caught in a momentary shame spiral, you've missed the next moment, right? And you're still disconnected. And so it's about how fast can we come back for the next moment or the next message or the next song, and how that's a muscle that we grow by doing it together.
I definitely am guilty of messing up and then struggling to do anything but mouth the words for the rest of the song because my confidence is shot, and I get caught in that don't do it wrong. And I mean, in every area of my life, I know that I am not my best when I'm in don't do it wrong mode.
I'm so proud that you joined. I was surprised. I did not give him any pressure to join. I was surprised that you said yes.
I mean, it's a combination of a lot of things. I've got several very active men's groups, and one of the ongoing themes is struggle and growth. It's so obvious what the path of growth is for me. And when I also take into account that Lisa is leading it, and I really enjoy watching you lead. Because at home, I thought I was going to make a joke. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. Sorry.
I can see his face before the joke happened. Good thing I like his jokes most of the time.
We've built up a trust and that allows for stumbling.
Mm-hmm.
So even as I am frustrated in choir, I don't feel like I'm testing you. Like I feel like I'm allowed to be bratty, or whiny, because we've kind of developed that framework of your humaning is always okay.
Yeah. And a mutual, deep bow of respect for choosing the path of growth.
Yeah.
I really feel that. I feel that from you, and I feel it toward you.
Yeah. They say, be with someone that inspires you to be a better person. And which is just hard for me because I'm so awesome already. But man, you do inspire me.
I'm so glad you made a little space in your self-love for Mother Kirsten the joy. And honestly, though, I actually want to speak to that because I actually feel you make a lot of jokes about it, but I feel like it's one of the main reasons I chose you as a partner is the fact that you have nourished a healthy quality of self-love and appreciation, that you walk with a straight spine, that you don't apologize for who you are in the world, and that you have, before we met, even though you talk about this real edgy path of growth with doing it wrong, that you have another aspect of yourself that is really knowing of your worthiness already in the world, and how we often associate that culturally with grandiosity or narcissism or something toxic. And yet I'm finding that the lack of it is a much more widespread toxicity in our world because it doesn't allow other sources of love to be received. And the fact that you have practiced the muscle of giving and receiving love allows me to my love to feel really received by you. And I feel like it's the reason our relationship thrives.
Makes me think of the improv song. The reason I'm comfortable in it is I can't do it wrong if I'm just being genuine. Mm-hmm. And I think that is, years and years and years of my spiritual practice has been stripping away the shoulds and need tos and really literally feeling that, radical self-expression, like a true unveiling of my truth is invincible.
And helpful.
Yeah, I mean, what higher purpose do we have other than to allow our truth to be? Mm-hmm. And then if anybody has issue with that, that's crazy. Mm-hmm. It's
inarguable.
Like Ram Dass says, you don't start judging the trees. That one's too crooked. That one's too tall. But we judge people.
Right.
You have to recognize, am I pretending? Am I trying? Because if you are in a state of, I'm trying to play a certain role, I'm trying to be cool. The first, 25 years of my life, that was my mantra. Please be cool. Please let me be cool. But then if I'm trying to be cool, then I'm auditioning for a part that if somebody doesn't think I'm cool, then I failed. And you can fail if you're trying to be something. But if you simply allow yourself to be, you can't fail. And the liberation of that is what I think allows me to love myself. And then if I can really believe that about myself, then I can believe it about everybody.
Yeah.
There's nothing more beautiful than a human being revealing their truth, period. If that truth is, I did this terrible thing, I'm ashamed of this, I'm scared of this, I'm ashamed, like let me see that, because I guarantee every single person on this planet has a huge box of that stuff.
Right.
And so if I can forgive myself and then forgive others, doesn't mean that I don't forget all the time and the voices inside get really loud and I get frustrated during choir practice. But, when I'm remembering and in my highest, I absolutely love the experience of being me. And what a treat to get to experience others as they're doing the same.
I am so grateful for the work that you did on that before we met, for all the first 50 years of your work, because it's allowed me to arrive in our intimate partnership with all of my least preferred, least loved parts to come forward and be met with a confidence in you that is able to look at me. And one of the first phrases you ever really offered for those parts for me was incredibly healing and relieving, was, you got the part. But the part of me that was really wishing those parts of me were more polished or not there in order to show up in this relationship in a good way, was not the conversation. The conversation is, you're welcome here as you are.
And as you are being and becoming, it's not the snapshot of your best that I'm in love with. It's the process of you being and healing and stumbling and getting stuck and freeing yourself up. And like, it's the human that is you. And when we fall into the lie that people are not supposed to be flawed and broken, then life is really hard and everyone disappoints you and you suck. But if you recognize we're all humaning, we're all doing the best we can with what we got in the moment. And sometimes in the moment you're overwhelmed with your traumas, sometimes you're overwhelmed with fear, and the same is true with everybody else.
And the pathway back to connection, which is what we're all wanting, is tell the truth.
Right.
About what you're experiencing right now. In fact, John and I did it before we started recording this podcast. We started recording and I asked to hold his hand. And I said, I'm feeling disconnected right now. Can we pause? And it was so helpful because I just felt you arrive for me with where I was without me knowing how to do it or what to say. And in the asking for help from that truth, the whole mood and tenor of the connection changed for me in that moment. And I was able to come back to myself in a way that allows me to be here now.
Yeah, that is one of my big messages and teachings and learnings, has been in the power of revealing truth. I've been living very publicly online for 20 plus years, including, a 2-year stint living in a webcam house where everything I did was broadcast to the world. And you have to let go of the desire to present.
It's not sustainable.
No. And so over time, I realized that if I see something in myself that I'm embarrassed about or ashamed of, if I say it, that thing that could be used as a rock to be thrown at me becomes foundation. Say, I am feeling really insecure about my complexion. I'm like all blemished. Then when the bully says, "Yeah, pizza face," it's like, I just told you that. What's scary is when somebody attacks us with something that we're ashamed.
Right.
It's in the darkness and they shine a light on and we go, "Oh no, you saw that part of me." But if you can preemptively say, this is also part of me. I frequently cry on camera because I think it's important to say, how could I be ashamed of this truth? Now, it's been used against me at times.
Yeah, how does that feel?
There was one time where someone made a sticker out of a picture of me bawling, crying. What got me really upset was that it intensified the fear that most men have of, if you show a vulnerable thing, that you will be mocked. I don't really care, like I feel proud that I'm comfortable with my emotions or my feminine side or whatever it is. But it upsets me when the taunting of me is used as evidence of somebody else that's why I got to keep it inside.
What else did you learn in the webcam house and being on display and like letting that presentational self just fall away?
People always go, "You showered on camera?" People said, "See you shower." It's like, this was many years ago. Bandwidth, we did not have broadband. So like the videos were very small. Like my genitals were like 4 pixels, And that's even with my not insignificant.
John.
Okay. Sorry. But there's no shame in taking a shower, I don't think, Or if you, once in a while, I pick my nose, like, that's a human thing. Like, I'm not going to be, but when I thought, what am I ashamed of? Things like gossip.
Mm-hmm.
If I was going to speak about someone that wasn't there, I had this clarity of like, oh, that's poison, which I didn't realize how often I was doing it.
So you recommend us all just turning on our cameras all the time?
Absolutely, yes. Well, I mean, even long before the internet, I remember, my brother once said, I'm trying to make decisions as if my future child was watching me.
That's beautiful. And then how I notice it lives in you being in relationship with you is that you are quick to own missteps or check out if something was a misstep. You do that a lot in our relationship, and I appreciate it so much that you come to me frequently and you say, when I made that joke yesterday, I was going for the laugh, but I was thinking about it and I can imagine maybe it could have been heard this way. Was that okay? That there is a way that you come back to me without that layer of shame that prevents us from apology or prevents us from owning our choices and makes actual relationship possible. And that's so relieving. It's such a gift to be on the other side of partnership with. Thank you.
It's all related to that. Doing the best we can.
Mm-hmm.
And that if you can recognize that something might not have been ideal, or whether sometimes I can look back and go, oh, I was defensive. And so I spoke in this way, or I said a thing that was coming from a reactionary place that I can see now that I couldn't at the time. So I want to apologize and let you know that it had nothing to do with you. And I can say that without shame because I know that that happens to people.
Right. I do it too.
Right. And I think, I have not always been that way in a relationship. And I think it's an important baseline agreement to have with romantic and any person in your life that's important. Like, are we here for each other's growth? And do we recognize that path includes a lot of stumbles and we're going to have compassion for each other? Okay, cool. In that case, I dented your car.
Which happened. I've had a car practice.
I did. That was a good exercise for me of like, that's how awesome Lisa is. I'm sitting there fuming, so angry at myself for being so stupid. And Lisa leans in my car window and says, I challenge you to see if you can drive all the way home without thinking about this. Yeah. It's like, okay, I trust you. The really loud voice in me that wants to spiral into self-judgment. And then gratitude's helpful too. Then I go, wait a minute. Like, I have a dent in my perfectly functioning car. I love my problems.
Uh-huh. Yeah. I feel like your gratitude practice and the dharma of gratitude that you've lived has also been so impactful in our relationship that it's really contributes to that culture of compassion for each other so much because we have a generous lens to start the conversation from. And that's certainly what I would wish for all of us on this planet. And it feels very privileged to be able to say it about our young relationship that we haven't been married for 25 years with a big stack of all the little things, but I feel like we met each other later in life, which has been a real gift, that we've done a lot of our own work around that generosity of spirit with ourselves and therefore with others before we met, which is paving the way to this mutual commitment that we have in our partnership to keep that spirit of generosity alive and of truth telling so that we don't accrue a laundry list of resentments over time of the ways that we don't meet each other's needs or show up the way that we're proud of, or any number of things that I hear from couples all the time. I feel like we are on a good trajectory with the commitment that we have to our path, our practices of gratitude in that way.
Can I share a couple of our practices?
I'd love to, yeah.
I mean, One is what's something that you don't want to tell me? And over time, building trust that if we say a hard thing, the other person will meet it with, thank you for caring enough. Thank you for believing enough in this relationship to say that thing that was hard. Yeah, that's been so huge.
And it's confrontational every single time. And especially at the beginning, right? Because there isn't the secure attachment yet, right? When we're first taking those little risks with each other is when I noticed it the most. Can I say the thing? Not wanting to lose all the precious goodness and feel like, yeah, I had the potential to ruin, I'm using air quotes, ruin everything through my revelation of, I don't prefer it when you blank, or I had this thought and I'm not proud of it, but it's here and I notice it's been coming up or whatnot.
Yeah. And then, it's been helpful just to practice with little stupid things.
Right.
I had this thought, I'm not really stewing on it anymore, but when you didn't come to that event, I was feeling like resentful that, you're not making an effort to see my friends. I don't believe that thought really right now, but it did come up and it's something I didn't want to tell you.
And then it becomes something we can actually investigate together and see, is it balanced with us? Have I been coming to your things as much as you come to my things? And then there's actual relationship that can happen from that. Yeah.
And then the other one is every night we end the day with, what I appreciate about you is ...
I love that practice. And it started feeling formulaic at the beginning. I don't even remember which one of us instigated it. It's probably you, since you do gratitude all the time. But I found that by following the formula and reaching for a thing, that it became the goal of my everyday to get more and more specific, to really find the thing that I hadn't named before. And it's really impacted, I think, the lens that I see everything through. I've been in relationships where I see things primarily through the lens of the transactional, of like, man, I did these 3 things for them, but they didn't even do this for me. And that is such a recipe for suffering. I do not like how it feels. And this lens of consistent gratitude is the exact opposite and feels the exact opposite. I start spending my day looking for things that I can tell you at the end of the day and naming them to myself through the day. I'm like, wow, he did that, and wow, he did that, and wow, he did that. And instead of holding you against some ledger of expectation, I experience every single thing that you offer as a gift that I get to thank you for.
I mean, that's the magic of gratitude practices, is that there is a near infinite number of moments that are happening every day, and you can only process a few. And so by training yourself to focus on the ones that are inspiring or beautiful or poetic, you start to notice them more and more. And it's not a ignoring of problems. It's a celebrating the good stuff.
Acknowledging this is also here. Yeah. It feels like such a huge key to the recipe of this inquiry of how do we bridge the divide. There's such a bias and orientation to difference in the media, and such a propping up on social media of how we are different and how easy it is to look at another person's choice and say, I would never, right? And then that becomes this foundation of kind of toxic superiority and then othering, and then nobody belongs. But to me, the recipe that starts with gratitude walks people toward each other so fast. that as we name the things that we appreciate and see in each other, it creates its own equal and opposite momentum of connection. Tell me how you started. I don't even know, after all our years of dating, I don't know how gratitude actually started as a practice for you.
It started with Grandpa Caleb, with my grandfather was a Baptist minister who, by the end of his life, called himself a Baptist Buddhist. And I didn't know him that well growing up. But when my grandmother passed away, I went to go see him, knowing that he was a minister who'd helped thousands of people go through transition. But this was his partner of 65 years and his soulmate and his driver. And I went to go visit him in his little retirement village and kind of crept in the door. I was like, "Hey, Grandpa, how's it going?" He said, "Did you know that for $4 I can get a shuttle anywhere in the city?" I was like, "Wow, right on, Grandpa." He goes, "Yeah." So I went down to the market and I went to the woman behind the counter and I said, "Excuse me, my wife has recently changed her residence to heaven. Could you help me find a few things?" And I just was so struck by his attitude. I was like, "Wow, man, Grandpa, you always help me see the glass is half full." And he leaned back and he looked me in the eyes and he said, "It's a beautiful glass." And at the time I was living in the webcam house, I was very, look at me, look at me. And I had this like electricity moment through my body of like, oh, I think I've been learning to use all these tools so that I can hand the microphone over to this beautiful man. I said, "Cap, would you be my co-host of this internet show that I'm doing once a week called Hug Nation?" And so once a week I would go to his little retirement village, turn on his webcam and listen to him talk about how grateful he was. And he was an amazing guy. He would tell stories about, he worked with Martin Luther King Jr. and did a lot of just really inspiring things. But it was, over time, it wasn't the words he shared. It was this state of gratitude. Like I would visit him, we would broadcast from the hospital when he got sick. And I visited him once and he's, got tubes in him and his mouth is super dry. And I go to see him and he goes, "Oh, wow, the doctors treat me so good here. Modern science is amazing. What a miracle." And I was like, "Are you serious? Like, that's your story with all of this?" Like, how often are we choosing how to edit all of this material of our life into a way that is a victim story?
Yeah.
Or is, unjust or whatever, when at the very same time, there is a story of awe. And so
Gratitude becomes the ladder out of the victim's story. And it's a muscle, right? It's like something that our brains get addicted to, our biases. And so tell me what you are learning about. I'm receiving the benefit of it totally in our relationship, but tell me what you're learning by showing up and doing your gratitude circles twice a day, every day since COVID.
Well, and I really want to nudge everyone. Like, there's all these studies about how good it is. You could, in 5 minutes a day of writing a list of gratitude, you can actually, over time, make yourself happier. Because the untrained mind goes to where the most problems are.
Right.
That's an evolutionary survival tactic. Why would our ancestors huddle up and talk about beautiful flowers when the last guy who wasn't paying attention got eaten by something big and terrible? So we have nothing big and terrible trying to eat us most days. So we have to really set a practice of steering our mind away from the negative comment that someone left, away from the terrible headline, away from the ache in our foot. And remember, wow, even with this ache in my foot, everything else in my body is working. I can limp, but I can still walk around the block. Oh my goodness, there are so many things working. And you can spend your day in that space of, wow, so much is working. Or you can spend all day in my ankle. Oh, I'm getting old. I can't get through to my doctor's office. It's like they're both true, but one is living in heaven. And then another big thing that I've learned through doing this daily is the power of doing it in a group. One, for the accountability. It's easy to share gratitude when you're going, "Hey, I was in a parade last night and I won an award. I'm grateful for this." But if you commit to showing up and maybe you don't even want to share, and then you listen to other people talk and you dig deep and you go, "Oh yeah, I got stuff. I got, at the very least, I've got you who's listening to me right now." And that widening of the lens as people share the different things that they're grateful for, and getting to be reminded of how much that I'm taking for granted.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it is mind-boggling how many incredible things we take for granted.
Every moment.
Every moment. We right now are in a temperature-controlled box. There's no insects can't get into where we are. There's food in our fridge from countries all over the world. We've got spices that people used to have to take ships and maybe die on their way to go retrieve. But do I spend any time in most days going, what an incredible bounty is in my home? If I don't actively choose and commit and say, oh, what am I grateful for today? I won't think about that for years. I'll only think about, man, that DoorDash person was 10 minutes late. I had a real gratitude, whoa moment recently when I was in the middle of talking with you. We're having a conversation. I opened the door, grabbed the sushi that was delivered from the porch, and continued talking to you as I brought the sushi into our house. I was like, whoa, my life is such that I have raw fish delivered to my door. Wow. So that practice of hearing other people remember when you're forgetting is super helpful. And then over time, I think the muscle grows. And then when the tough thing's happening, you can't help but be aware of the goodness. My uncle died a few days ago, and a gratitude practice has really changed my relationship to grief, where it doesn't automatically have a bad association. It has an intensity, and it's wrapped in gratitude. In my feeling of loss is this deep gratitude for the man that was in my life and the family that I've had and do have. And I'm not pretending like he didn't die. It turns everything into something that's beautiful. And the other thing is, over time, when you get to see people get through struggles, or people really stretching to find the gratitude when they're losing their home or something like that, and then a few years later, their story is beautiful, and you are reminded time and time again that you just never have the perspective to evaluate what's bad.
Right.
Yeah. So while you're in that moment, take the opportunity to say, oh, I have water that comes out of a tap, and I can make it hot. Do you get this? I can put my excrement in a bowl, and I hit a lever, and it disappears. It's like a miracle. Have you done that? Not only that, there's a device that I hit the little remote control, and it sprays my bottom with warm water. Hallelujah. This is, woo. What an exciting planet and dimension to be conscious inside a body during this time. Is there things that are scary and horrific? Absolutely. And I'm scared frequently. But gratitude is what can pull me out and to go, yes, there's terrible things. And there's a laughing baby that I got to see yesterday.
And as somebody who lives with you and can offer kind of the relatable version of what you're talking about, is I experience you as having a day where you're really in your anxiety about the world, or really in your despair about the news, or in your frustration about a mistake you just made. And I also witness on those days you show up for your gratitude circle, you show up for your broadcast, even when you don't feel like it, even when it's not easy. And then I experience that your falls aren't crashes, and they aren't long lasting, and it creates this general resilience in your being that is so easy to live with and that I benefit from.
I appreciate that.
I feel like I came to our relationship with more highs and lows, and having these big expressions of joy and enthusiasm at times, and then these big crashes of retraction and closedness. And there's something about the reliability of your practices that have invited me into that more reliable baseline. And I feel the ripples in my life. Like, we are not immune to bad moods. We are not immune to seeing through brown-colored glasses at moments. We are not immune to judgment of others and judgment of ourselves. But I see that our choice in our relationship together has really given us a place to practice not supporting those things becoming our baseline.
Yeah. I think it's important to say it's a result of practice.
Right.
Like I wasn't born cheery.
Yeah.
I was depressed. I was medicated for 10 years. My baseline growing up was not of self-love and joy, but it works. We have thoughts, and we can passively receive whatever thoughts come, or we can question them, and we can seek out, and we can practice steering our thoughts to the places that make life more enjoyable. And that's the same with, like, you can collect evidence for why your partner is not pulling their weight, or you can look for evidence for why your partner is amazing. And they're the same person. Just in one of those scenarios, you're both less happy.
I hope that we re-listen to this podcast the next time that we have a fight.
I'm going to watch the video because you look so beautiful. I was having a hard time concentrating.
He's taken, ladies. He's taken.
This level of partnership and commitment, I didn't understand this was a possibility. And do not take it for granted. Do not take you for granted.
I'm thinking in this moment of Richard Rudd in a previous episode of the podcast talking about marriage, which he brought up a little bit unprompted in the conversation. And then I got to say, I'm engaged. And he was like, really? Great. And we talked about the value of commitment. And I can feel that in this moment. And I can feel the value of that in the service of this inquiry. How do we bridge the divide? That we have to choose to. We have to say, I choose no exit, right? With every person at some level.
This makes me think of when you said there is no outside the circle.
Yeah.
Like, if you think you can solve the problem by pushing somebody or some group outside, and that will never work.
Yeah.
That's such a hard, big idea.
It is a hard, big idea.
But that's what we're practicing together.
Right.
It's like, that's part of the, what do you not want to say? Like, there's nothing's outside. We're going to figure this all out.
Yeah. And like you said, that there's not a commitment to a static person, right? I'm not saying yes to all of your behaviors. I'm not saying yes to all of your compulsions or things that feel less good to me. I'm saying yes to the wholeness of you working with those things for the rest of your life. And that because you're working with them, we're working with them. I've loved since we've been together that when I've had ailments, you've come to me a lot and said, how's our body doing? I've never had a partner do that really acknowledged that because we're choosing each other at this deep level, everything that happens to either of us has to be included.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that if it matters to you, it matters to me. And if it's your need, it's my need. And it doesn't mean one of us loses and one of our needs gets prioritized. It means both our needs have to get met here, which is exactly one of the lyrics of our choir songs.
Nicely tied in. Well done.
That was God-given. Can I sing it to you right now?
Yes, please.
I will share a little bit about the history of this song. This song was born by myself in a hot tub while I was navigating a really difficult relationship situation. I was feeling very angry at a person in my life, and I was discontent with landing in judgment of them or landing in anger about it or victimization by the whole thing. And I was asking, Spirit, help me find a more helpful message. Help me sing what I really mean, my deeper truth in relationship with this person. And then, interestingly, I got to use it in another really hard relational situation with a completely different person the same day. And I got to teach the song to them and sing it to her face.
Whoa.
And we made it through a really difficult situation. But I laugh in the choir. I invite people to, if they're having hardship with their partners, to sing the song. Both our needs have got to get met here. Both our needs. We're part of a team. Both our needs have got to get met here. So let's tend the fear and find the bigger picture. I care about you.
I care about you.
You care about me.
You care about me.
This is what it feels like in family. I care about you.
I care about you.
You care about me.
You care about me.
Help us find our love in this ecology. That's called the Bridging Hearts song. And I hope that we make more songs like that, like tools. I never thought of doing it with the choir, actually. It felt just like a workhorse of the song, to individually have in their pocket as a tool for the right moment. But it's actually been really powerful to have the choir split in two and sing I Care About You to the other side of the choir and have the response called back and forth.
I love it.
I love you.
I love you too.
Thanks, Styn.
Thank you, Lisa.
And thanks for anybody who's chosen to glimpse into the window of our thoughts and lives. And I'd love to give John a chance to share his opportunities for connection and his work in the world before we close.
Thanks. Yeah, I would love to welcome everyone to join me every day at 9 a.m. Pacific. I do a live broadcast on YouTube and Facebook and Twitch and sometimes Instagram. And it's a love ambassador morning. We share gratitude and set our sails for the day. Kind of a reminder of a lot of things we're talking about today. Like, we have the possibility of adding a little bit of good to the world. And sometimes we can be the role model and the permissionary for others just by waving to your neighbor. So I do that every day at 9. And at noon every day, I lead a Zoom gratitude circle that is everyone's welcome. Both of those are free, and I'd love to add your yumminess to the casserole that we make together and then ladle out all day long. And then you can go to lifestudent.com and find all the other fun stuff I do in the world, like Help the Homeless, which is a charity in San Diego that is really rewarding and wonderful. And if you are a man or know a man who is working on becoming a better man, I lead men's groups and do one-on-one coaching and a bunch of podcasts. But honestly, listen to Lisa's podcast. It's way better than mine.
I want to thank John because without him, I wouldn't be doing this podcast. He's bringing his tech prowess and doing all the editing and making it beautiful. Thank you so much.
So I'm going to edit out that part when you made a really good point and made me look stupid. Okay? I'm just going to edit that out.
Welcome to our couple's sense of humor.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Lisa.
Mm-hmm. Love you, everyone. I love you, John.
This is a song for all of us.